Good morning. I hope that you are having a wonderful week, and I hope that you are starting to look towards a weekend that is going to bring you rest and joy. What am I doing today? Well, yesterday, um, this is an interesting conversation. Let's dig into this for a second. Yesterday was a day that had its challenges outside of the project, and I was in two minds as to whether to talk about this because I feel that there's a not a pressure, but this impetus, or wherever it comes from, this idea that I should maintain sort of a mask, happy, cheery, because there's a lot that I've got to be grateful for. But yeah, yesterday was rough, and it finished on a good note because I had my voiceover workout. But yeah, it was a challenging day. It was some necessary things happened, but it meant that project work by necessity became was not the focus yesterday. But what I did get done yesterday, and I apologize for speaking elliptically about that, but I feel like that's the best way to approach that. What I did get done yesterday is I did mess around with both the frequency spectrum of voice. I found some really great references that expanded on the information that I got from the consults, and that now makes so much more sense to me. And I've played around with EQ, and I feel like I've got a better understanding of like what's going on there. I did do some EQ. I did do some EQ. Bear with me for a second. I just faded out. I did some EQ trying to approximate distance, but I wasn't super happy with the effect. It kind of morphed also into starting to play with mix buses in Reaper, and I'm not hearing it. So I'm gonna go back to the awesome audio designer that I worked with, or the awesome audio expert that I worked with on that, and just try and get a little bit more information on that. It's obviously something that I'm not doing quite right, or it's entirely possible that the effect is a little bit more subtle than I expected. But yeah, it was interesting. It was an interesting investigation. Yeah. So what am I doing today? Well, today is I'm focusing entirely on this today. This is my work. This is prep for next week. For my epistolary narrative consults. Because I've skimmed through that before when I was doing complex rule systems. I sat down with it, but I was very much just trying to find sort of what's the nugget in this that I can get out that helps me move forward. So now I'm going to sit down and work through it, wrap my head around it, and understand it. I didn't get a chance to play through more of Tacoma yesterday, but what I did do is I did read a little bit more of Frankenstein while I was out with my partner and daughter while they were getting having their dentist checkups. And I got to the point in the novel where Frankenstein, spoilers, where Frankenstein meets the creature for the first time, and I'm not going to have time to read it now, but oh man, what a turning point. So good. Because up until that point in time, like, it's so thick with that sort of, I mean, it is a gothic horror novel, so it's so thick with that gothic sensibility of Frankenstein being all, oh, I love my friends so much, and what I've done is terrible, and I am actually responsible for the death of this person, but I can't speak about it. And the monster turns up and is like, dude, fix this. You've done a thing. So yeah, it was really good. So yeah, so that's today. So it's entirely Forest Path's narrative. I've got an audio consult which is now locked in for Friday. That's moved from tomorrow to Friday. There is an audition that has come across my desk that I've been working on a little bit back and forth, that I'm going to be putting in tomorrow. So it's going to take a little bit of time tomorrow. But yeah, today is just all Forest Paths. It's all prep for next week. Yeah, that's today. Let's end on a positive note, because I feel like talking about the stuff before I've kind of blur. One thing that has happened recently that is really good is completely outside the project. Oh, actually, no, that's the ramble that I wanted to have. It was rattling around my head. I've finally thought of, yeah, there's the whole other thing about personal training. I'll talk about tomorrow. So I've finally thought of a name for the project, and I'm going to call the project Navy Boards. I was talking with a very talented person who suggested that it would be a good idea to give the project an identity. And so I'm calling it Navy Boards. Why Navy Boards? Well, I'm glad you asked. On the Navy Boards is a speech that was given. Now, this is all according to Wikipedia. I haven't gone off and read books about this. I've just been rattling around for a while trying to find a good reference point, because normally when I name things, when I name projects, I like to name them based on myth. But there's a couple of problems with that, because this is all about voice and this is all about storytelling. So I'll circle back around to that in a second. But on the Navy Boards is a speech that was given, according to the small amount of research I've done, by Demosthenes, who was a Greek orator. Now, he is something that I wanted to hang this on in some way, because Demosthenes was born with a speech, or grew up with a speech impediment, had a lot of trouble actually talking, doing oratory. Dude sheltered himself in a cave, shaved half his head off so that he would force himself, by shame, don't want to go out in public because I look ridiculous, so I'm going to focus on my craft. That feels like a very close corollary to what I'm doing here. By necessity, everyone is locked away in their own little cave. But what I've been doing since March is I've been studying this. I've been trying to understand just the very beginning of the different facets of all of this, because it's so wonderfully multifaceted and it pulls on so many strings that I can't possibly know everything. But I am laying a great foundation, and that is what On the Navy Boards as a speech did for Demosthenes. It was not a successful speech in the sense that it put him on the map, but it laid the foundation. It did the groundwork for his later work. The Philippics are what he's better known for, basically an attack on another public figure. My information at that point starts to get a little bit more sketchy. But this is all about laying foundations and groundwork and getting those first steps out there. The Philippics are coming, baby, but it's not the scope of what I'm doing here. They're coming. So that's what I'm going to call it. I'm going to call it On the Navy Boards. Now, why hang it on a Greek orator? Don't we have enough? Aren't there enough references to old white dudes? Well, first of all, the very first thing that came to mind to name this project was Scheherazade, because Scheherazade is this amazing legend of just an incredible storyteller who was able to preserve her own life by the craft of her stories. But two problems. One, Scheherazade, tremendously difficult to spell. That is not something that you want to be putting on any kind of URLs or anything like that for people to be able to find your work. Oh, what's your project? Oh, it's called Scheherazade. Secondly, and this ties into a lot of the mythical references as well, now, I may lose you at this point, but that's okay, because this is all about me. This is Kevin time right now. So if I lose you, it's been wonderful having your company up until this point in time. There is a problematic run of digital assistants, of AI being feminine. Problematic because these are service roles. These are things that do stuff for us. So I didn't want to tap into that again with a reference to a female character, because there are some incredible woman storytellers in myth, in history, and legend. But I feel like that utility aspect of all of it, it's a troubling thing to tap into. So I didn't want to do that again. Sirens, mythological reference, for example. One of the first things that comes to mind when you think voice, sirens, banshees. these are negative. They're negative myths. I saw someone post something on Facebook a while back. We're now in ramble time. But I saw someone post something on Facebook a while back about this whole idea of sirens being creatures who lured sailors to their death, just being this misconception. Because sirens are just out there chilling and dudes just do this wacky shit and then just end up killing themselves trying to get to them when they're just sunning themselves on a rock, just minding their own business. So yeah, so that's why I couldn't find, and I know that someone's probably going to chime in, like, you know, in the next day or two and go, but what about? And I'd be like, that would be perfect. That would be a great reference. I didn't want to tap into those connotations mythologically or with characters like Scheherazade. Didn't want to do it. So, Navy boards. Simple to remember, 2 words in combination that are probably only going to find references to Demosthenes, and even then, it is not the thing that gets search results for him. So it's 2 words that are easy to find. It's an elliptical reference to something that I think taps into the themes of what I'm doing here, and I don't feel like I'm planting a flag on someone else's stuff, because also with Scheherazade, the idea of yoinking a Middle Eastern legend it's troubling. The world doesn't need more of that. Anyway, so if you're still here, that was a bit of a long-winded ramble about why the project is called what it is. And I feel good. I feel good having a name to hang this off now, to have a shingle to put all of this under. Now, circling all the way back around to what we started talking about. What am I doing today? I'm sitting down with Forest Paths, looking forward to it, and I'm doing that in conjunction with doing the weekly grocery shop today. So that's me. I hope that you are well. I hope that you are safe. I hope that today, if you can, just to echo some really good advice I got from a dear friend last night, find one thing. Garbage trucks are coming now. It's perfect timing. Find one thing today that brings you joy, that is just for you, something that you find pleasant, and do it. Put a little gas back in the tank. All right, I'll see you tomorrow.